Three, two. Hey, what's up, everybody? Steve here. Hope you're having a marvelous day. I'm here with a gentleman named Matt Diemert. Is that correct, Matt?
You got it, man.
And just thought I'd sit down with him and have a conversation about his life, his music, and anything he's interested in sharing with me. So Matt, how are you doing, man?
I'm good, man. It's Tuesday and we're all quarantined up. So what are you gonna do?
Oh my god. What what you're in the East Coast and I'm here in Mountain Time. I found I ran into Matt just a little bit about how we've connected more or less. Matt was putting out these tutorials back in the day for ProTools, this digital audio workstation that I'm trying to learn and understand better. And I had reached out to him and purchased some of his tutorials, and they had been, they were really beneficial in my education process. And ever since then, and just the format and the quality of it, I really enjoyed it, and it was, I just wanted to really speak to Matt. So that's why, more or less, I'm here talking to Matt. And this is actually the first time I've spoken to Matt. We haven't spoke before this interview. But Matt, maybe you can just tell me a little bit about your life and how you got into music and why.
Yeah, so I grew up in South Carolina and played in the church band for years, and we traveled all over and played music. And so I started playing guitar at, I don't know, maybe 7 years old.
Wow.
Learned how to play bass at about 9 or 10, 11, somewhere in there. And just played music, and moved off to college when I was 17 or 18, and moved to Ohio. And then I met my wife and started playing in the church band up here. And then I started dabbling in other musics that I wanted to play, and started playing out a little bit here and there. And I,
Sure.
just kept at it.
Yeah, no, was there anybody in the family that influenced you, or was it a friend?
Oh, both my dad's both my dad's brothers played very well. And so that was like, if they were having a family get together and everybody's out playing ball or something, I'm just sitting by where the guitars were. You couldn't move me away from that.
So of the guitars you may have, and you might have a lot or you've had many over the years, what's been your favorite guitar to work
So
with?
my current favorite is I bought a Martin about a year and a half ago, and I went to the store to buy a D18, and I didn't. I ended up with a Rhodes series because it just spoke to me. It was weird because I said, I want a guitar that actually talks to me this go round.
Absolutely.
And so that's pretty much what happened. This thing, man, I picked it up and it played like an electric guitar, but like an acoustic guitar. And I can't even explain it, but
No.
And I'm a horse trader. So like I've bought and sold so many guitars over the last 20
Sure.
plus years, And so I told my wife when I bought this one, I said, I kind of hope one day it gets a big ding and, I can't ever sell it. And I spoke too soon because the next day I accidentally walked into the thing and put a little crack in the the side. But that's okay because now I'm not as uncomfortable gigging it out and playing with it. So.
What are you doing nowadays with music? Anything special that you want to tell people, or are you just doing stuff at on the down low?
Quarantine's been interesting because being locked away, I literally started recording an album in March. And I've had the pleasure of meeting a couple people I met over the past year on the internet. I met Michael Cleveland, who is a blind fiddle player from Kentucky.
Okay.
But he just won the Grammy for Best Bluegrass Album.
Oh, wow.
And so I, paid him to play on a few of my songs, and we ended up realizing both of us were visually impaired, and just a nice friendship. And so he played on a lot of this stuff. And I just started recording, and I didn't know where it would end, to be honest. And I don't know that it has ended, to be honest with you. So it would be every couple of weeks, and I'd say, I'm done. I'm going to stop here. And the next thing I know, I was at 12 tracks. So I actually just put up to DistroKid a week or so ago a 3-song EP that we're going to release next Friday.
Oh, wow.
It's under the name Matt Carson, which is what I do all my country music under. And so I'm really excited about it. We released an album last year called No Regrets. And it was really well received. SavingCountryMusic.com rated it as one of the best albums of 2019, which I was super proud of for a guy that no one heard of 2 years ago. So that was really cool.
Well, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
It's, I mean, I've listened to your stuff, on iTunes or Apple Music nowadays, I guess is what it's called. But
Yeah.
and in different platforms out there. So I was gonna get with you before this and see if I could get some teasers or something, to push, while we were talking, but it would have made everything a little bit more complicated. But no worries. Well, I mean, where can is there anything that you'd want to share to push people specifically, or to find information about you, or is that
Absolutely. So you've got the website mattcarsonmusic.com, and then every Tuesday night on Facebook I do a live show.
Okay.
I play for about 45 minutes, a lot of originals, a few requests. We do a lot of I don't do much today's country. I do a lot of traditional
Absolutely.
stuff. And then on YouTube. But if you actually go to Spotify and look up Matt Carson, you can actually pre-save the EP that's coming out next week.
Is the Facebook page like a public figure page, like Matt Facebook.com?
Yes, Matt Carson Music. Yep.
Matt Carson Music. Okay. / Matt Carson Music. Awesome.
You got it.
And so when you were I'm trying to think, that Pro Tools with speech tutorial, how did that come about, and why did you want to do that?
So at the time, I wanted to record an EP. I had 5 songs that were like kind of on my mind and my heart, and I was like, I really want to record this, but the equipment I had access to was just inferior to what I wanted to do.
Sure.
I had what was that, Olympus LS100 and Audacity on a PC, and it was just a mess. Everything I wanted to do was just less than professional. And I just, and not saying what I ended up doing at the time was great, but it was head and shoulders above that. But so my buddy had come back from, he was in Phoenix for conservatory recording, and then he was in Nashville at
a studio down there.
It was a famous studio. I wanted to say it.
Wasn't
Blackbird, but it was, what's the one where they have like a bunch of chains, like a bunch of clubs.
I know where you're talking about.
House of Blues. Yeah. And so he was at House of Blues for a while. He comes back here. He's between jobs. I say, hey man, I really want to learn Pro Tools. And we start staying up till 4 a.m, just learning everything we can about it, all the keystrokes. And this was back in Pro Tools 9. So
yeah, it's different.
There's a lot of things that weren't really available to us. And so we were figuring out workarounds to comp or to edit a track or to whatever it was.
Yep.
And so we learned all that. And I said, you know what, we need to teach this to people, because I can't be the only person who wants to know how to do this.
Of course.
And so we worked out a cool workflow that we felt comfortable with. And we did it in Pro Tools 10 at the time, which was the best version we had access to. I think 11 might have even been out, but I just did, when the first 11 came out, it was just ugly. And so we went ahead and did that, and it was a labor of love, really, because we didn't sell a ton of them.
Sure.
But it probably took us 3 months to do it, between recording that whole thing and then editing that whole thing.
Were you in a studio? We
were just in my attic.
Just
actually.
Your attic. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we set things up as best as we could to try to keep it quiet.
Sure.
And we made it work. And just a quick brag is Pro Tools with Speech 2.0. I'm hoping to release. I think I said on list in July. That's not going to happen just because I've been doing it on my own.
Of course.
But it will happen. I would say by September 1st, you can see Pro Tools with Speech 2.0. I'm super proud of this one. I took it
above and beyond,
all the way from starting a song to working with other musicians, and how I import and bring in audio from other musicians who record with me remotely, to editing the thing, to mixing the thing, to getting it mastered from a mastering engineer, to distributing it to DistroKid, and it's going to be a single when the Pro Tools with Speech 2.0 comes out.
That's awesome.
So, and then we're going to give everybody those files, because I want you to experience exactly my workflow.
All the multi-track.
I'm going to give out all the tracks, and you can do your own editing, your own mixing.
Well, that's great, man. I'm looking forward to it. The quality of even the Pro Tools with Speech, which I know, you can be a big critic of your own work, of course, but it's for the visually impaired blind community, I mean, there's not a tremendous amount of options out there, for education and for mentorship necessary. Well, I think more now today than ever
Yeah, than there
before.
was, say, 7 years ago, for sure.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I mean, I've wanted to mess with Pro Tools for the last 5 years, and just in the last 6 months, I've been reading about it and studying it, but I wasn't really working in it, and now I am,
Yeah.
and I love it because of the accessibility that exists now. And
Yeah.
if you don't mind me asking, about your blindness, is that all right?
Oh, absolutely, man.
So tell me a little about that. Were you born blind, or was it?
So I was born blind, and had good parents that really just encouraged me to do whatever it was I wanted to do. And so in that realm, I went to regular school. I graduated seventh in my class of 755 kids. Um, I got a seeing eye dog at the age of 16. And
Uh-huh.
that was what kind of was life changing for me, is because I decided, well, I'm going to move away from home.
Independence, yeah.
And so when I left home, it was just me and Othello. And so I moved at 17 to Ohio. Been stuck here ever since, 22 plus years. And but it's been good. I met my then girlfriend, soon to be wife, and we've got four beautiful daughters.
Oh wow.
And and it's been amazing.
Do you have a home studio, or not really at this point?
I do. We've actually, so this room that I'm in right now is pretty set up. We've got our clouds, and we've got absorption all around, and we've got some nice diffusion in here. So this is usually my listening room, my monitoring room, and then behind me, it's a little more open. We've got some diffusion in there, but a little more open. We kind of track in there. But a lot of times, if I'm tracking by myself, I track in the listening room. I'll track in my monitoring room. There's
Sure.
really, because I'm working by myself so often. But I've found myself working a lot of people's stuff lately. A lot of singer songwriters want things produced, and so I found myself doing that a lot more lately. And
Yeah.
that's awesome to work on.
Questions about that. I mean, are you so for work, like, other than your personal stuff, what you're trying to create and release and produce? What is the workflow? What kind of work are you doing? Jingles? Are you doing? Is it just recording musicians, mixing? Is it a little bit of all?
For real life, I'm actually an assistive technology trainer, so I'm all over the state of Pennsylvania, even though I live in Ohio,
Uh-huh.
working with their clients, teaching them how to use AT.
Yep.
Whether it's JAWS or VoiceOver, Zoom Text,
Of course.
whatever that looks like. But my music side of things, I try to do anything that anyone wants. We've got a group that came in this past year, and he had a song that he wrote. He wanted to release on Father's Day, and we really got in here and tracked the whole thing. And then I've got a couple people that we've just done just guitar / electric guitar stuff. I've got a couple people who are great songwriters, but not good singers and not good guitar players.
Of course.
They come up with these great melodies, these great songs, but they're like, I want to pitch this, but no one's going to listen to me pitch this. So a lot of times I'll cut a vocal for them and a couple guitars, and we'll go big if they want to. It just depends on the budget. I mean, we'll go all the way. I mean, I play bass, electric, acoustic, keys, and I've got access to pedal steel players and
Sure.
mando players and banjo players and fiddle players.
Amazing.
So we'll go as big as you want.
I'm building a setup here at my home in the western part of Colorado, and to record a full band if I wanted to do, like, I want to do these live virtual concerts maybe every month from my, like, more or less my living room, the live room, whatever you want to call it. But just hearing you talk about your setup and stuff, it's exciting where you can go with things and what you can do. Do you collaborate? Do you bring in other people to help you with the recording, or do you primarily work on your own? Doing
well.
Everything?
So my last album, No Regrets, Rob came in and we worked together for 2 years on that baby.
Yep.
We literally, this guy, he's an amazing friend. He, I told him I wanted to record an album, so he went out and bought all these preamps. I mean, he's got a bunch. He bought just racks and racks of 500 gear. And so we literally mixed that thing analog, because that's just, he wanted to experience that.
Oh wow.
And so we mixed No Regrets, pretty much analog. We brought it back in the box,
Sure.
but as far as mixing went, it was all, through outboard gear. And it was fun. It was just a lot of fun. Because you know how it goes, man. You're working on something. The more you can work with somebody else, the more somebody else hears something, it helps you as an engineer or producer. I don't know what I consider myself, but a lot of times if I can shoot something out to someone else and say, hey, what are you hearing that I'm not hearing?
Exactly.
Because you're in isolation,
Well, I mean, it's at the end of the day, when you're making something, you want to distribute it to people so people can listen to it and experience it. And so it is important. I would say definitely to collaborate and work with others in the process of making music.
One thing I learned was, I used to watch all the videos back 5 years ago, the recording revolution and the Pensado's place and the Sound Like a Pro and all that stuff's great, but nothing really replaces just doing stuff. And so I don't really feel like I learned what I wanted and what the sound that I needed. Like I could always hear it in my head.
Sure.
I couldn't get it out of the speakers.
I realized there's a lot there. I mean, when you think about, I don't know if a lot of people who are not, audiophiles or not interested in like the recording process, but just it's just a few phrases that you've mentioned or stated, it's not enough to explain the overwhelming, depth of technique and workflow. It's amazing. It's just amazing that we have the opportunity to do this in the sense of being blind or visually impaired. And I have a hand disability in my left hand. I was a soldier. I served in the Army and lost my sight 12 years ago on the ground overseas. But I do everything for the most part with really one hand, and that's kind of it's more difficult with the key commands, So, but
now, are you using Flow Tools?
I do use. I mean, I can use Pro Tools without Flow Tools as well, but I do use Flow Tools. Yep.
Yeah, I was just thinking from a modality standpoint. I mean, like I can tell you just from me personally, like I love Flow Tools just because, and I teach it a lot in 2.0, just because it's a lot of one-handed use. You know what I mean? Like
back when Pro Tools was Speech 1.0, it wasn't out, or was it? I can't recall.
It was not. It was not.
Yeah. No, it's a game changer, and I actually, when I was trying to figure out how to use Pro Tools, when I got a hold of your stuff, I was like, I did not know about Flow Tools, and of course, I guess it wasn't. I don't know when it was born.
Somewhere around version 12, I believe.
12, okay.
Yeah.
Do you,
But you know what? I think you did it the right way because, and I'm working with, as I said earlier, Michael Cleveland, because he's been recording a lot of tracks remotely for people, but he's been doing it on an iPhone, and he wants to work from Pro Tools. And I don't know how much I'm allowed to say here, but one of the cool things is just like, hey, I want you to know how to use Pro Tools before you ever do that, because if Flow Tools goes away, or if it quits working, or if Keyboard Maestro goes away, God forbid, but if it ever happens, there's still keystrokes in Pro Tools that make it very usable.
Yeah, no, you should have a foundation of the
absolutely
the
actual basics. Mechanism of how to do it. Yep.
I don't know how much time you have, man. I don't want to take up too much time, of your day. We could go, a little bit longer, but
I'm good. If you've got a couple, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm training people from home today, so this is kind of my Tuesdays and Thursdays. I usually do some remote sessions in the morning with customers, and then I just lock it all down and grab a guitar and try to make music.
Sure. What's the process like for you when you're writing music? I know there's so many different, things, but like maybe a recent song or something you're thinking about now. Like how do you approach it from the beginning?
It usually always starts on the guitar for me, and just a cool riff or a cool melody I'm hearing in my head, and I start strumming it and humming it, and then I'm like, it's a weird, because I don't consider myself a songwriter. People say, "Oh, you write great songs." I don't, but anyways, because the way that songwriting works for me is I usually hum a few lines and I'm like, man, that line right there would sound cool there. I wrote the song "Waste of Time" on my on my EP or on my last album. And like those first 3 lines was just so simple. It was just like a big guitar riff. And it was like, oh, those are the words. You know what I mean?
No, yeah. So do you, you sit in front of your, Pro Tools in the box and you record maybe that riff and do you, I mean, like what's the process when interacting with your gear and
So it may start in my phone a lot of times.
Sure.
It'll probably start in like whatever I think it's Backpack is the little app that I use. Let me look.
Okay.
I think it's called Backpack. It was like a little podcasting app that they put out, but I just like it because it's easy to record in real fast and go back and find my stuff.
I'll have to check that out. You just throw it down like in front of you and just record. Okay.
Yep. And so I do that a lot of times. And then as I'm ready to like get, once I've got a full idea and I'm like, I want to scratch this down, I'll grab my favorite mic, believe it or not, is just a Bluebird. It's just their blue. It's like a $200 microphone.
And how do you like to set that up on your guitar?
So I use it a lot of times. What I'll do if
which guitar, I guess, are you using in this regard?
Always using my Martin to track stuff with. Yeah, but a lot of times I'll do a vocal guitar all at once, just to get it in. So I'll put it about 8 to 10 inches away from me, just below my chin, so that it gets a good bit of the guitar and the vocal.
Yep.
And then I might grab an electric, and I use a lot of UA plugs. So I may grab an electric.
Sure.
And I may, throw in like an amp simulator or something. I love the Marshall JMC 2000. It's really Brad Paisley sounding, Keith Urban sounding.
Oh yeah.
But you can really, make it real twangy. I'll grab a telly or something and just throw some lines in, and that's usually how I'll start. And then when I start building stuff out, it's usually I'll find someone to drum or I'll program drums, however that looks.
Sure.
And then I lay in drums. I'll usually lay in the bass second because I feel like if I can get that real nice rhythmic foundation down, laying in the acoustics where I want it. And then usually I'll hear that in my head. How do I want those panned? How big do I, you know what I mean? What do I want the song to feel like? And so I'll go ahead and lay in some instruments, and then I'll lay in a scratch vocal. And then I kind of go from there. Hey, I kind of want to fiddle on this. I'll send this over to somebody to fiddle. I want a steel guitar on this. I'll go on, not Sound Better. What's the Air Gigs?
Oh yeah, Air Gigs. Yep.
And grab somebody to play.
Have
steel.
You posted work on there or anything like that? Have you done?
I have not. I've thought about it.
Yeah.
I've bought from there several times.
Sure.
There's a steel guy that I love. His name's Jess Perkins. If you ever need steel on anything, anybody.
So yeah, what's the quality like there?
Amazing.
It's just all kinds of people too from all over the world.
Yeah, and so if you read the reviews and you take a second and you're like, all right, this guy's at the top. There's a reason he's at the top.
Maybe explain to the listeners what Air Gig is, I guess.
So Air Gigs is really cool. It's a place where you can go and say, I'm looking for a harmonica player. I need a harmonica on this song, and you put in harmonica. And so you get a list of 40 people and they say, hey, I'll play harmonica on your song for $25 or $50 or whatever it may be. And
how do the royalties work and stuff like that? Is it, is that contractual? I mean, is it custom stuff or?
So basically they're just playing on the song. They have no,
they
have no right to anything. You're just paying them basically as a session musician.
Sure.
And so you pay them. You don't even have to mention them. I
give credit.
I gave credit because I was so impressed with when I can. Like I said, a couple of the guys I work with are under contract, and you can't.
Of course.
And so there's all the music business stuff that I try to stay away from. But it's really neat. I mean, just because here's the thing, as we said earlier, sometimes you're isolated and you're locked in your own studio, and you realize, man, I need a part that I'm not good enough to play. Like for example, I can play mandolin pretty well. But I was doing a song. I was covering a John Prine song after he passed. I really wanted to cover for the album.
Wow!
And I just knew I couldn't play it well enough. I would lay stuff down, and I'd listen to it, and it just wasn't good enough. So it's like, well, I'll pay someone because I can't, And the rates are usually reasonable, man. I mean, you can
seems
find
like it.
But you can usually find something between $50 and $100, and $100 is usually on the high side. And those are guys that are working in the studios that are, on albums that are way bigger than our stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's insane how much music's being made, in this day and age.
Well, and it's like your point earlier, it's accessible to everybody, right? Like you and I can do this now. Like
absolutely. Well, everybody is working, from their homes. or
Yeah.
bathrooms or
Right.
wherever, I mean,
Wherever.
not that it wasn't even done before that, but
Right. Right.
it's just like, I guess maybe mention like how fast, if you had like the song, it's so quick to get a song like distributed literally on digitally, right? I mean,
Oh man,
on DistroKid, like you were talking about.
yeah, I sent off a master to my mastering guy. Uh, got it back the next day. Put it up, and I mean, you can have it up as fast as you want. Now, I always tell people take your time because you wanna build a little hubbub if you can. Because if you can, then Spotify or Apple Music may put it on a playlist, which is good business.
Sure.
We got put one of our last songs got put on a playlist. It got 10,000 streams from that. That's a big deal. I mean, that's helpful. So take your time with it, but you can have something up as fast as 24 hours. You
Absolutely.
know, I mean, you can record. This is the cool thing. Once you learn Pro Tools and your technique for recording, I mean, I can do a song in a Saturday and be done and satisfied with it.
Of course. And
that used to take me forever. Like I used to toil over that thing. Is that guitar good in the 200 hertz range? You know what I mean? You just.
I mean, I have a lot to learn. I'm a percussionist, self-taught. I've been drumming, from a young age too, and I have a Roland V drums. Like I can't remember the brain. It's a TD-20 SXV or something.
Okay.
Full kit, so I can push all the MIDI out and stuff. And I'm learning how to be really quick and do different things with MIDI and Pro Tools, or even maybe with someone's trying to sell me on some complete control stuff and machine stuff. But
Yeah.
I like my kit. I mean, it's I'm playing more naturally, in the sense of swinging my arms and and beating my feet. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, just this experience of this journey of trying to understand how to make music and even just find something that a career. I'm after losing my sight. I mean, I do a lot of different things. It's been a wild ride the last 10, 11 years, but
Right.
and speaking has been something that I've pursued a little bit, but I mean motivational like stuff,
Right.
But,
I got you.
but I really want to do this. I really want to do music and
Yeah.
be somewhere in the cog system.
Yeah, man.
I mean, a cog there. Be one of those. I don't know. It's
Well, it's an
interesting.
outlet, right? Like it's an outlet. Like I always say, like I can do all the other things I got to do in life to keep the lights on,
Sure.
but I have to have music somewhere, right?
Yeah,
Like you just have
therapeutic.
to have it somewhere. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you like
I
listening
mean,
to? What's like? I mean, nowadays. I mean, maybe something. I know that you're a traditional country guy, but yeah. I mean, maybe
Tyler Childers is probably one of my favorites right now.
Sure.
Jason Isbell. Women artists, Erin Enderlin, one of my favorites.
How about some big influences for you, like for the listeners? They like if you were to think, there's so many. I'm sure.
Yeah, obviously, like Waylon Jennings for me is huge. Like I went through I'm weird. All right. So like I went through a spell maybe 8 years ago where I listened to the Waylon Double Live album for like a year straight. I didn't listen to anything else. I would get in the car if my wife was driving us somewhere, and that was the only thing that came because I just wanted to hear that pedal steel. I wanted to hear that Telecaster. Merle was huge for me.
Yeah. All great stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like as far as like, rock influences go, like, I mean, believe it or not, I grew up down south. So like I loved Hootie and the Blowfish.
Huh.
I loved, it was just weird. I just loved anything that had like good driving line. And as a bass player, if you give me a good driving bass line, like I'm all in,
Have you explored playing other things like other kind of genres or not so much?
So like I said, I did
just
a lot
for
of
fun, I mean.
Yeah.
I guess,
I did. So I did a lot of 3-piece stuff with some people for a while. I did a lot of blues, 3-piece blues stuff.
Huh.
I play every once in a while with a little group. They do a lot of 60s and 70s, like Beatles and
Okay.
60s music. And so I'll jump on bass for them, which is a lot of fun because it's getting me out of things that I know how to do. And I've been playing with this group on the rocks for a little bit. I'll jump in with them, and he's more of like that red dirt kind of music, and it's different for me because it's just I have to learn how to pick completely different, and I have to learn how to think differently, and the chord progressions are a little easier than maybe what I'm looking for or whatever, and so it's a cool challenge, in that realm.
Do you have a routine like for gigging, a live gigging in your local area at all, or not really? So
Well, I did.
yeah, I mean, I
Before.
guess before the
Yeah.
pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah.
It-
No, there's a lot of little places I love to play. I like to play, to be honest with you. I'm real funny because people say, I'll pay you this to play 4 hours. And it's like, no, I'm not that guy. I'm not coming to play for 4 hours. I'm not your bar guy. I actually want people to care about what it is I'm singing about up there.
yeah,
So I'd rather play to a small place where people want to hear me
an intimate
than
situation.
just exactly. So there's this little, craft beer place down the road that I love to play because people enjoy the music.
Yeah,
I've played a couple big places where people have really enjoyed the tunes, and that's always what means something to. Like, I'll play for 2 hours. That's kind of my max, is because like I usually have a set list that I want to go get through, and here's kind of my feeling on that. I'm always up for playing what people want to hear, but if I don't enjoy what I'm doing, I don't really want to be doing it.
I no. Well, I mean, it's it's hard, when when you're passionate about something, and then
Right.
and you mix it. It's like partly work and it's part, this
And it's
love or
part
passion.
enjoyment. Yeah. And
It can be difficult. Yeah.
yeah, and I know they're there to listen, so that's fine. I'm willing to like bend to that, but like at the same time, like, like I want to show you, like, hey, check this out. I've toiled over this song. It's really cool. You should check it out. So yeah, it's
I've
been a blessing, man. I, I battled anxiety for a while, so the idea of even getting on a stage was weird for me.
Sure.
And then I started doing it about a year ago, and it was like, whoa, I never thought I'd ever do this again in my life. You know?
Yeah, I've had similar issues with speaking, and it's the same thing actually. I want a more intimate setting when I'm speaking to groups. I don't really enjoy some big corporate gig where I don't, people are being forced to be there maybe, or it's not
Right.
like, yeah,
Right.
they're not there to really hear you out in the same way that I'm thinking in
Right.
my mind. But
Right.
I I don't know, maybe we'll close maybe on that note, unless you have something else to say, man. I, uh, this is so informal what I do, and I mean I may make it more formal as they go on, but I really want people to hear people's stories like
Yeah.
yours, Matt,
Yeah, man. I
because
appreciate that.
it really helped me, and you sometimes you don't get that kind of I don't know how many people reach out to you and tell you,
Right.
but yeah, I mean, it was important to me and in my journey and where I'm trying to go. So, um, uh, I thank you for
Yeah,
that.
man, I appreciate that. And like I said, if you've got my number now, if you need anything, if you run into a roadblock in Pro Tools and you're like, I don't know how the heck to do this, shoot me a text, shoot me an email, give me a call. We'll be happy to help you out, man. We'll get you in the right direction. It's a love of mine. Like I said, I'm working with this gentleman now who literally just opened up his Mac 2 weeks ago, and that's the first time he's ever touched one. And we've already got him where I'm pretty sure we're ready to get Pro Tools going. It's just a love, man. I just love educating and helping. And like you said earlier, man, if you get a chance in this, just find yourself a little spot in the cog.
No, absolutely. Just hang on, Matt. Don't go anywhere.
Sure.
All right, everybody. Matt Diemert, and check out the Matt Carson's music. Correct, right? On Facebook and the website. But check his music out, please. Please do that. Peace out, everybody.